Hi, my name is Mary Wong, and I'm a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner and acupuncturist in downtown Toronto, and I'm the founder of Alive Holistic Health Clinic and the author of Pathways to Pregnancy, which you will see here. And unfortunately, it's backwards because this is what happens when you do Facebook Live. And I am so thrilled and honored today because I have one of my patients here who I love dearly, and her name is Carol, and I'll be talking more about her story and jump in whenever you want to. But before I do so, I want to explain a couple of things. And just a technical thing is that 2 times now, when the live post goes over 10 minutes, what happens is that we lose connection. So there's a possibility that we'll lose connection. So then this post will become 2 parts. Okay, so and if we don't, awesome. If we do, oh well, we'll do it in 2 parts. Secondly, the reason why I'm bringing in Carol is because one of the motivations of writing my book was that I found that when I told stories about people overcoming their fertility challenges with my patients, they really found it helpful because it provided hope. It helped to break the thought of, gee, I'm so alone in all this. And so it was just really important to tell stories. And I'm really, really grateful and honored that you're here to share your story because I know it's been a really arduous journey. So without further ado, this is Carol.
Hello, everybody.
At the age of 38, you came to our clinic. Had you done acupuncture before?
I had, but for different reasons. For irritable bowel syndrome. Nothing, yeah.
So not fertility related, but she had inflammatory condition prior to. So what's her story, right? So she came at 38 after 5 miscarriages, all natural, right?
4 natural, 1 IVF. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a bit more about that. And so she came in August 2016 at the age of 38, but was trying to conceive starting at the age of 35. Now, you also had a laparoscopic surgery done in 2010 when she was 32. So there was something going on, but we weren't sure exactly what, right? Also, just as a background, she was on the pill, the birth control pill, for 19 years, off and on, maybe just 1 break, I think?
Yeah.
1 break. And when she finally stopped using the birth control pill, it took her a year to get her menstruation back. And that's what caused, I believe, what we call iatrogenic cause of polycystic ovarian syndrome, which you were diagnosed with, and then you were placed on metformin, which is literally used for people who have polycystic ovaries, and the same drug that is utilized for people with diabetes. So there she was having that with irregular menstruation of 32 to 40 days. Now, when she came in, as Carol has mentioned, she had 5 miscarriages within the 3 years. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't a difficulty of getting pregnant, but staying pregnant was an issue. And it wasn't just like a quick chemical pregnancy. Her longest lasting pregnancy was 10 and a half weeks. So, you know, you get pregnant and then you have this hope of this life growing inside you, and then this horrible despair when you find out that it's not working. When you were at 10 and a half weeks, did you know ahead of time that you were going to miscarry?
No, I actually had no idea. The first time I got pregnant, it was a surprise. My husband and I were really excited, and it was a bigger surprise when we went in to have our ultrasound, and all of a sudden we get told, "I'm so sorry, there's no heartbeat." So that was a big surprise for us, and that became the routine, unfortunately, for the remainder of our pregnancies.
So meaning then, was that the 10 and a half week? No, that's the second one.
And the second one.
Okay.
Yeah, my first one went till about 9 weeks, and so, as I mentioned, that's what happened. The second one, same thing. They saw the heartbeat, and it was growing, and then all of a sudden, heartbeat stopped. So it was kind of difficult because, you know, you hear from people, oh, once there's a heartbeat, you know, that's a really good sign, but that wasn't the case for us. So it was pretty difficult.
And you had multiple scans before you...
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we had scans starting at 6.5 weeks. Yeah.
And then weekly, and then you find the demise after a couple of weeks.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's not the most typical thing, but it does happen, unfortunately. And I could just imagine how horrible that feeling is when you expect this life and then all of a sudden it just doesn't pan out. And then repeatedly.
Yeah, it was really frustrating because, you know, we're always looking for answers, and you know, the specialist couldn't quite pinpoint. Till this day, they can't really pinpoint exactly why my body was doing that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we'd go through a filtering process of, is it your body structurally, is that, you know, not the right host for your baby? That wasn't the case. Then we went through the IVF, the retrievals, and then, you know, we found some that were good enough. They lasted to till day 5. We sent them out to genetic testing. So we had 3 genetically perfectly embryos that, you know, out of those 3, only 1 actually materialized, which I'm sure everybody can see by now. They get surprised, but yeah, it was very much the what's wrong with me? Why can't I get answers to why this isn't working out?
So just to really explain this further, I mean, you really went through the mill too, and you had gone through a lot of perseverance, and you certainly did everything you could, because I don't know if you really heard, but you did 4 IVFs in the aim. So IVF is where you take drugs, you stimulate the body with hormones so that you can produce as many eggs as possible, follicles, and then you retrieve them, you get it outside of the body, fertilize it in a petri dish, and then you see if they become embryos. And she didn't just do it 1 time, but 4 times, because the protocol is that you want to maximize the number of embryos, and then you test it. You pay like $5,000 to get genetic testing, and then to see how many are viable. And so with each IVF, she did get a 7 to 9 follicles retrieved, and then ends up with 4 to 5 embryos. So you collected 20 embryos, and out of the 20, they found 3 chromosomally normal, viable embryos. And within that protocol, I believe you then, so you did frozen embryo transfers, and transferring back 1 embryo at a time.
At a time, yeah.
So before Carol came to see us, it was, she did 1 embryo transfer, didn't work. 2nd embryo transfer, first embryo transfer, it did work.
Mm-hmm. That was actually the hardest. That was one of the hardest losses, because we have a genetically perfect embryo, and your body's taken it, and I actually thought, this is it, we're done. And that was really tough for us to lose that one, because then at that point we just said, we're out of answers. We've tried everything that's out there science-wise to be able to explain why it's not working, and
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I want to address this, because coming in from a place of, this is a sure bet, I've done everything I could, we've spent like $1 gazillion, we are, having these embryos that are chromosomally normal, so really, surely it has to work. Well, unfortunately, and now it doesn't necessarily work even when it looks perfectly normal. And we don't know exactly 100% why, but I have some theories around this too, right? Because here's the thing. When they test that embryo, they pull out cells. Mm-hmm. So when you pull out cells, you don't know exactly where you're pulling it out from. So technically, they should pull it out of places where, like a placental cell, so then it doesn't disturb necessarily how the embryo will develop beyond, right? So who knows? Like, is it that? Is it, my body is kicking it out for no reason? It doesn't like making babies? We really don't know, but at the same time, unfortunately, for anybody that is going through IVF and thinking that PGS testing, pre-implantation genetic screening and testing, is a sure thing, it's not. You have, I don't know the exact percentage, but it's certainly not a done deal. And Carol, before she came in, saw that, and it was pretty devastating, right? And because you've invested so much in physically, emotionally, and monetarily, really, right? So then, second frozen embryo transfer, negative altogether. So not even a pregnancy altogether. And then she had one embryo left, and that's when you came and saw me here and the rest of us at Alive Holistic Health Clinic. And so tell us a little bit about how you were, what we did in order to help create what I call, we have to have life within us to create life. So how did you create life in you?
So the mindset that I was in when I came to see Mary was actually, I had said to my fertility specialist, I feel like this is going to be a Hail Mary if we try this last one. Should we use a surrogate? And he actually said, no, we should definitely try this. And I said, what have I not tried yet? What have we failed on and not doing? And he said, well, make sure you're doing either meditation, acupuncture, and then yoga, if it's at all possible.
Wow, so he actually referred to
He did.
Wow, that's awesome. So
He did.
not all reproductive endocrinologists are on board with that, so awesome that he recognizes that this helps.
Yeah, he was wonderful, and so I said, you know what, I'm so invested in this, I'm going to do just that. I knew that I struggled with yoga. That wasn't my thing, but
I remember.
But I knew that I could definitely do acupuncture. So I was actually on a business trip, and I looked for the best place to go for fertility acupuncture, and you came up. And so that's actually how I ended up here. And funny enough, you're connected to the clinic that I'm going or used to go to for fertility. So my mindset was I'm completely devoted to making this work. So what that meant was looking inwards, and Mary helped me a lot, because I think
closer. They can't see
there's
you.
a few things that I didn't realize. I don't think I was walking the talk. I said I was really invested in this, but there's one thing that Mary said, and it was about, it takes energy to make something. And the way I usually operate is, in stressful times, I dive into my career. And so my time was being put there to try to get through the stresses of what I was going through, and not really focusing inward in my body, and just being mindful of what we were trying to create, and just making a choice, saying, like, this is more important than anything else. So it was a huge mindset for me. That was one. And the second one was, if any of you guys are ever going through to your fertility specialist, and mind my lack of breath, because at 36 weeks, that's what ends up happening. Sometimes it feels like you're in a bit of part of a conveyor belt. You go in, you go out, you get your ultrasound, you get your blood work, you see your doctor for 5 minutes, and you're out. But you're missing that support system, and I feel that that's one thing that Mary was able to provide for me, and it was huge. Emotional support, and just being able to answer any questions I had, and quell any fears that I had, because for somebody who's continuously losing babies, finally getting to the point where, okay, we think this is gonna work, trying to not stress over the next 9 months that you're gonna lose it is another feat that you need to get over. So Mary's been fantastic in keeping me in the moment, and focusing on it one day at a time. So
Meaning that through her stress and anxiety, she actually did a lot of acupuncture. Even when I said, you might not need so much, but I think it was actually helpful for you, because you had so much stress and angst about, can this actually happen? There's a surreal disbelief, like, there's no way, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. You gave me a protocol where I didn't have to come in that often, but I knew that I really needed this method to help me sort of just relax and stay present. So I was actually coming twice a week, and that worked for me quite a bit.
herbal medicine too.
And herbal medicine, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so then just to be specific, so let's say again, what made the difference for you this time around?
It was a mindset change.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Focusing on this and not on everything else that I needed to achieve or complete or yeah, it was quite different.
And I actually have to comment on that because she came in really, really stressed, always racing in and out. Not that you're not racing in and out, actually.
I
now,
am type A.
But, type triple A, as we said. But there's a difference in that you were able to let it go simultaneously. Right? So there was a shift, and I will add to this because when we talk about the science of epigenetics, so where the internal environment, our emotions can impact our cells right down to our cellular level, which includes the developing embryo, developing baby, we can actually impact this and even impact like our ability to say yes. And so I think, from outside looking in, there was a piece of prior to it, it's like the body's like, no way, Jose. You can do whatever you want, but my body's not listening. And then when Carol started to listen to herself and be, I don't know if it's self-responsible, but certainly self-respect, where it's like you allow yourself to say no at certain points versus just go, because that's what you're used to doing. And by the way, she is an overachiever. She has like a big job, and we don't need to say anything about the job, but the point is that even within, so she didn't have to take a sabbatical to get pregnant, so that's good. Some people think that, oh my gosh, my only way now then is maybe to like completely quit my job, and was that there actually for you?
It was a thought. It was a passing thought, but I think, we made it work with what we had. Yeah.
So it's not, where you can change your lifestyle and reduce stress, but ultimately you see this live person here who created life through altering her mindset, changing her perspectives around stress so that her body is more conducive to creating life. And I think that's really where we're at.
Absolutely. And the other thing I would probably mention is, and I know this is probably very, very hard for you, for those of you who have experienced repeated losses, but try not to focus on what you've lost and instead focus on what you are going to be able to make, because you got to keep looking forward. Not to say that you can't mourn what you've lost, but you have to stay positive and you have to stay resilient and know that what you put your mind to, you can achieve one way or another. Just know that really deep inside. And that was a big thing for me, that no matter what, I was going to make this work. Didn't know how, but I was going to make it work, and that really drove me.
So when you came in that first day, were you hopeless, or were you like, okay, I'm just going to check out another avenue and make it work?
Yeah, it was a challenge. Like, no, this is going to happen.
Okay. So,
yeah. And don't get me wrong, I went through I do feel hopeless, I do feel angry, I do feel a lot. Like, I went through all those emotions, but my overarching was, I want this family so badly that I'm just going to keep charging ahead.
Yeah. So between first starting to try to conceive and then now actually being pregnant at 36 weeks, how long has your journey been?
I guess that would make it almost 5 years. Yeah. 5 years. 5 years of no break, like just continuously trying something. Yeah.
That's a lot of perseverance. I mean, for myself, it took us 5 years to conceive our daughter, but I did take breaks. for sure. I'm like, ugh. Even when the doctors, I had a very different scenario with blocked fallopian tubes, but and being a lot older, the doctors would always say, every month you're getting older. But I'm like, there's such a thing as, like, there's the linear time, and then there is, like, time to regroup and be whole again to help conception, right? So we can't just buy into this linear passage of time thinking that every month we're getting older, our eggs are getting older, and it's like downhill from here. Like, it doesn't have to play out like that.
Yeah, don't put pressure on yourself. Everybody's different. You're gonna find that right, timing for you, and maybe you need to take a break like Mary, or maybe you feel okay just powering through. I know my husband didn't want me to continue powering through, but that's something I chose, and I said, no, I'm ready for that. But everybody's different, so don't pressure yourself. Don't pressure yourself just based on age or what your doctor's saying.
And actually, this is a very good point. And everyone is different, and we have to respect the differences. So, for example, I had a lady who just knew. She says, I've had 2 miscarriages. I think I'm done. Like, that's it, right? And others like yourself, like myself, I just charged through. I'm like, okay, one way, shape, or form, like, we're gonna make it happen. But then from that, though, not necessarily forcing a specific pathway. So for you actually opened up yourself to allow yourself to do IVF, like that, right? Whereas others may say, I can only do it naturally, right? And so for myself, with blocked fallopian tubes, where the only way to get pregnant was through in vitro fertilization, I could have chosen the path of I could adopt, which I actually did, by the way, and it still didn't work out because the lineup was like way too long. And the other option, of course, was to go child-free. And when I woke up to the fact that, no, it just didn't resonate with me. And it's like, so one way, I'll allow myself to open up and maybe find other avenues, which included IVF, which for sure, it was like, no way in hell I would do that, right? Because I'm so natural, and I'm in Chinese medicine, and we're all into holistic stuff. But in the end, I surrendered. So, you have to ask yourself, like, how open can you be? And even in the initial stage, you may say absolutely not. But then looking at it in a new light and having the continued challenges, how able are you to open up and surrender to what is and the other possibilities? Anything else to add?
Come see Mary.
Oh, God, no. Well, I'm hoping that there's lots of you that are totally not in Toronto. But sure, if you're in Toronto, don't just come see me. Alive Holistic Health is the place to be. And but for those of you that are not local, please pick up this book, Pathways to Pregnancy. And by the way, you'll notice there is no pictures of baby or pregnant women, because I feel that sometimes it's like a stab in the heart. And I actually even was wondering, do I have Carol be here live because she is pregnant? But I'm like, no, absolutely I have to, because this is a real story. And when you see that pregnant woman walking down the street, when you see that baby being pushed in that stroller, know that a lot of these women actually have stories to tell. That, you may feel like, oh my gosh, everybody's pregnant and are having kids easily, and I'm the only one not having one. But really, there may be many different stories that you don't know about. So the point is, I just wanted happy, cheery, and these are almost like cells, right? So happy cells growing. So that's where it's at. So please read the book. I have other live posts, so check that out on my Facebook Live. Like my page. Check out my website, marywong.life. And Alive Holistic Health Clinic. You can always check that out, and hope to see you guys soon. And next week, you're gonna get this. Tanya Smith, one of our practitioners here, just was so excited, and I'm being bought into this. So I am actually now excited about this. Next Wednesday, please join us. Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we're gonna talk about bugs as protein. So there's a local store called Loblaws in Ontario, and they are now carrying products of like bugs, crickets, and stuff. So we're going to check that out, and we're going to tell you why that it's an alternative option, especially for vegans who supposedly doesn't eat life that is not sustainable. Crickets are sustainable.
That should be good.
So check it out as an option. And we'll see you next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Take care. Bye.